Hi, this is Steve Berlin of Los Lobos. You're listening to WMNF, Tampa, Florida.
The opinions presented on the Healthy Steps show are the evidence-based opinions of Dr. Fred Harvey, the callers, and his guests. These are not the opinions of the staff, the volunteers, or the board of WMNF. The information provided on the show is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease. There is no implied patient-physician relationship in these calls. The nature of the calls is educational and informational only.
Hello there, my dear listener. It is wonderful to share the cavern of the studio with you on this mystic Monday morning. Words cannot express the depth of my gratitude to you for keeping that dial tuned to WMNF Tampa, your community-supported radio station from Tampa Bay to the Gulf of Mexico, and the only erudite little radio station that Mario Fuente would ever stream, and you can stream us as well at WMNF.org. And welcome to an entirely edifying episode of the Healthy Steps radio show with the esteemed host, Dr. Fred Harvey. If being with you today wasn't a greater joy than a tosser such as myself deserves, Dr. Fred Harvey ratchets it up maybe 2 or 3 notches whenever he holds AMA Monday, Ask Me Anything Monday, my favorite Monday, and I suspect yours as well. So let's get started. Write this information down because you're going to want to use it. Call 813-239-9663 if you have any medical questions or concerns. And I do believe that Maddie gets a smile bigger than the state of Texas every time she answers your call. So again, that number to jingle is 813-239-9663. You can also send an email to dj@wmnf.org or text us at 813-433-0885. Good morning to you, Dr. Harvey. I'm a little tired of hearing myself, and I suppose that everyone else is as well. So let's jump right on in with what have you got for us today, Dr. Fred?
Well, good morning and happy Monday. Thank you for that nice intro, Bill. And always good to be back. This has been the usual, lots of information. Things just keep rolling in. And it's amazing how stuff gets published that correlates with other stuff getting published. I just read a book review. A really brilliant author named Eric Topol, Topol, wrote a book called Super Agers. He's a really prolific author. He is a cardiovascular physician, and he really likes to look at chronic diseases and see how we can make an impact. And in his book Super Agers, he talks about these technological tools that he's very excited about. He calls himself a techno-optimist, and I'm a techno-optimist too. Not a biohacker per se. I think that we do pretty well on our own. You know, our bodies are designed to function really well for about 100 years, as long as we do good maintenance, and not necessarily adding in every new fad that medical science has suggested might add a week to the end of your life. But he talks about these really interesting things that can make a huge impact. And so super agers are people that really actually are healthy until the end. Like Jack LaLanne, he was, pulling train cars when he was 86, crazy stuff like that. But, the real big things we don't think about is aging, but obesity is aging, diabetes is aging, cardiovascular disease is aging, because these are all things that happen to our bodies that decrease their overall optimal functioning. And so foundationally in the book, he talks about these things like diet and exercise. Of course, there's a lot of fads out there. There's a lot of, alignment with ideas that are really short-term gains kind of things, or small gains for big prices. We don't need to take every brand new supplement, because our bodies actually were designed thousands of years ago without supplements and did quite well. And it seems that as we continue to understand how to care for our bodies better, we live longer. When we have less toxicity on the planet, we seemed to live longer if we didn't run into infectious diseases. Infectious diseases are what really reduces a lot of our longevity. But he talks about, not following specifically fad diets or fad exercise, but and there's a lot of research coming out now that the middle road is really the place to be there. But he talks about testing, and there's all kinds of new testing that he laments is not being utilized. There are very interesting metagenomic tests. They look around the genome, above the genome. There's metabolomic tests that look at how you're making the proteins that run the show in the body, that making the structural fats that hold your cells together. We can look at these things, but most doctors don't. They just look at these endpoint disease indicator things like a high sugar or a kidney failure indicator. They're not really looking at this ongoing metabolism that we can look at. And I do. Functional doctors do. There's some great tests out there, like the NutraEval test that looks at your metabolome. There are metagenomics tests and biomarker tests that, without doing a colonoscopy, you can get like 97% sensitive and specific for whether or not you have colon cancer on doing a stool test. There's also a blood test that looks at 50 different types of cancer. And if you do not have the specific metabolic biomarkers that are associated with these cancers, you likely do not have them. It's highly specific and highly sensitive, but most people are not looking at these kinds of data. And he laments that we're missing easy infection treatments and things like that we could be doing with a little bit better testing. But, really foundationally, we wouldn't have as much a need for those things if we had the basic foundations of diet and exercise. There's also interventions that he talks about that are really promising, and they're not utilized as much yet, but they will be. CRISPR technology and doing gene editing and helping people with serious genetic disease transcend it. There are actually now evidence of people with sickle cell having it fixed with this genetic editing. It's fascinating. In the living body, editing the genes. mRNA technology. I think we need to talk about that. There are no vaccines made with mRNA that are injected. Those are actually genetic therapy. But Novavax made a vaccine that is the purified protein using mRNA in the laboratory to create it. The mRNA injection tells our bodies to create the vaccine, so it's actually genetic therapy creating an in-body vaccine. But the mRNA has been used for years to alter the course of cancer and other things. So some people are missing an enzyme, a gene that codes for an enzyme that helps keep pancreatic cancer and other cancers in check. And if you give them the mRNA, they make the enzyme that slows down the cancer. It's brilliant stuff. And we're going to see more use of it. However, we see this convergence of problems currently in our governmental approach to these things. There is, a lot of money necessary to develop mRNA technology and some of these other things. But, in this current climate, the new MAHA thing, that Make Americans Hurt Always group, they have a dysfunctional idea about our reality. And it seems like their goal is to promote woo-woo treatments for the rich and shrinking healthcare for the poor, according to an article by Alexander Avila in The Guardian. And it does make sense, because the people that are surrounding Robert F. Kennedy in this administration are a bunch of online affluencers, the people that try to influence you to buy their product to make them more affluent. The affluencers are everywhere, and they're trying to sell us these things and then give us these little tidbits of supposed help, like getting a food dye out of some food. Well, the real problem is that we have a completely corrupt medical food pharmaceutical industry incentive system, and we also have a government that promotes the poisoning of our food in the field before it's harvested, and then promotes the poisoning of the food before it goes into the packaging as it's being processed. And so when we're aware of this kind of perfidy, they've canceled $500 million in mRNA research. They've fired thousands of the health agency workers. they've talked about this bizarre Tylenol issue that, functional doctors have known about for years and advise people not to use much Tylenol because of what it does. But, it's not one dose is not going to do that, but many will. And the problem is we're focusing on the wrong, and these little line items. We're not looking at systematic changes. We need to change the entire system. We need to stop monoculture agriculture and the poisoning of these foods with pesticides and herbicides in the field. And then expecting that we're not going to get sick by eating it. This is a belief system. It's okay to poison our food. So we've also signed an unwritten contract that says it's okay to die from cancer caused by the poison in the food. Why do we want this contract? It's very bizarre. I agree that we need to get dye out of our food, but I don't agree that that's the first approach. We need to actually approach food industry and change the way we're not feeding people, because I don't believe that the stuff that people are getting in boxes is really food. It's a industrial byproduct that people are assuming is food. Yes, it has calories, but it's stripped of life. You need to think about how many steps were between the field and the box. I like to keep it down to about 1 or 2 steps, cut the vegetable, bring it to the market, purchase it, take it home, clean it, and eat it. The same thing goes for my meat. There are farms around me locally that I can get animals that were known by the grower and that were harvested ethically. And we don't need to eat a lot of that kind of product to be very healthy, because small amounts of very high quality food go a long way to really fuel up your body. So I think that Eric Topol's book is a brilliant look into transforming aging. And we can really do it. But it's not about finding biohacks to add another week to the end of your life. I'm not looking at that kind of longevity. I'm looking at having a health span that matches the lifespan. And that's easy if you just take care of the vehicle. If you don't do maintenance on your car, it breaks down. If you do maintenance on your body, it tends to perform much better. And this is an interactive radio show, and performance is all related to who's calling and who's emailing and how we're interacting. So this is Fred Harvey. This is the Healthy Steps Show.
Yes, and participation is what is called for here. I've got neither phone callers or emailers, so everything is about as dark as my soul. So I'm going to tease you on in here, folks. You are listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa, and it is Ask Me Anything Monday. So if you've got any medical questions or concerns, give us a call. That number is 813-239-9663, and I've got Maddie answering the phones today, so I'm grateful for that. And once again, that number to call is 813-239-9663, or send your emails to dj@wmnf.org. And it looks like I've got a couple of callers that snuck on in, so I'm going to go to Nina in Sarasota. Good morning to you there, Nina. Well, give me 1 second. There we go. Good morning to you, Nina.
Hi, Nina.
Well, maybe we can come on back.
Let's do that. So this issue of building health is something that many of our medical science researchers and even governments are looking at. The Lancet is a well-respected British medical publication, and they have a commission on global health. And the 2025 EAT Lancet Commission on Healthy, Sustainable, and Just Food Systems really speaks to evidence-based insights on nutrition and human health, and also planetary health. because the way we eat affects planetary health. And I was just reading an article yesterday, and unrelated to this Lancet thing, but it made me think about it. And that is that there is an issue we have with not considering the planet when we do things. Extracting all the oil and burning it all, that's an obvious one. But it's not quite so obvious, I think, to most people that when we have these large monoculture animal herds that aren't something that the planet was used to, like large herds of pigs or cows, these damage the environment. And in fact, most of the animals on planet Earth today, over 50%, are domestic animals. And that's not because we have pets. It's because we have massive herds of food animals. And this is an issue that we need to address and correct. It sounds like some people do want to talk today.
Absolutely. My goodness, that was a real teaser to get him to light up the board. I've got Dan ready for us. Good morning, Dan. How are things in Oldsmar?
Things are fine. My question is, I have recently been diagnosed with diabetes. I've been pre-diabetic for a couple of years. I've had an ulcer on the bottom of my foot for the same couple of years where the podiatrist has been doing the same thing, debris, dress, repeat, debris, dress, repeat. Well, 5 weeks ago, it blew up, and now the treatment scheduled is removing my toe and part of my foot because the MRI shows that infection had gotten into the bone. Is there any other alternative that you know of? And part of it's my fault, but I think it was neglect of the system too.
So what you have is something called osteomyelitis. Osteomyelitis is a significant infection. It's very difficult to treat because in the circulation in bones is not as good as in other parts, other organs. And so people can get better from osteomyelitis with many, many, many weeks of IV antibiotics. It would be daily antibiotics for, I think, probably like 8 weeks. But I don't know that in this situation that's going to work. I don't know all of the nuances of your case, but antibiotics is often tried first. But the treating physicians may think that this is too severe to respond. I don't know what their opinions are, but antibiotics and surgery are the only ways really to get rid of a bone infection. And usually they try antibiotics first.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I've been on week 5 of an oral antibiotic because when it blew up 5 weeks ago, it decided to migrate to the side of my foot. And it was ironically shortly 2 days after one of his normal debris, dress, and repeat treatments. So the toe and the bone is what he's suggesting to take off. He said
Yes.
I'd be kicking pumpkins by the end of the month.
Yes, and actually it is a rapid way to deal with it. And if you've had 5 weeks, they do have some new, really potent oral antibiotics. And I have seen that used recently. That's a new change. So, if you've done 5 weeks, they may be actually recommending the appropriate therapy. I'm not really sure without seeing everything, but it sounds like they've done the right thing for you, and it may be because of your diabetes and the chronic nature of that. Also, you're not going to get rid of it without surgery. It's hard to see and say without looking at it and and seeing all the data.
Well, thank you for your show, and thank you for everything you do. It sounds like that's the plan. I'll just go ahead and move forward.
Don't forget to take your probiotics with all these antibiotics.
Yeah, I got a bottle waiting, but I just figured it makes. Also, they want me to stop all my supplements a week before the operation, which is Wednesday.
Ask them to show you the articles that prove why. Ask them to show what rationale they have, rather than just simply, it's my opinion, don't do it, and if you don't do it my way, get the highway. I mean, that's not a relationship. That's a dictatorship. I would like them to explain why it is that you need to get off them. I've never seen anyone, including me, have a problem continuing supplements during a minor procedure like that, because it's actually pretty small. You're not like opening up your heart or anything. They're just taking off a piece of skin and bone.
All right. Again, thank you. Have
You're welcome.
A great day.
You too.
And best wishes to you there, Dan. Appreciate you calling on in. Let's go to Tracy in St. Pete. Good morning, Tracy.
Hi, doctor. How are you?
Great. How are you today, Tracy?
I'm well. I have an acute swollen left ankle, and it's been that way for about a month. I thought maybe I twisted it, but I don't remember a trauma. I thought gout, but my uric acid was low my last time. Now I got on the internet. I was thinking blood clot, and now infection. I don't know. I guess I need to know the best. I haven't pulled the trigger yet on a functional medicine doctor, but now I'm thinking I need a walk-in clinic with an X-ray. I don't know, to start to address this the best.
Well, did you injure it?
Not that I know of, but I tend to fall a lot. But no, nothing comes to mind. It's been like this I've done the elevation, the heat, the ice. I even tried a tiny course of steroids, which that didn't work well. I'm, aspirin, Aleve. I walk on it, I swim on it, but it hasn't gone down. And in a side note, I got a ganglion cyst the same day that was swollen on my wrist or the ankle, that the same morning I woke up with like a ganglion cyst on my arm. So I don't know if it's the osteomyelitis scared me with talking about that. I don't know if it's bone fluid or osteoarthritis.
No, usually osteomyelitis doesn't show up this way. And having a single swollen joint and also having a ganglion cyst sounds like you have some connective tissue inflammation.
Okay.
Have you ever been evaluated for connective tissue diseases like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's syndrome, or any of those things?
I have not, and it's been lingering, but okay, then I will just pull the trigger with that kind of thought with a functional medicine doctor for sure.
I think you could just go to, if you want to get answers right away, you could go to a walk-in clinic and get the X-ray and get basic blood work for acute arthritis, which, you can ask them to work up autoimmune arthritis, and because this has been going on and it's not responded. And so I think you deserve a workup. And yeah, a functional medicine doctor is great, but if you want answers more quickly, just go see a regular doctor and get some testing done, and then you can have something to go on.
I love you. Thank you. And I'll donate to the state.
You're very welcome. Yes, get a head start on next week. Thank you so much.
I will. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you very much there, Tracy. Let's go to Eleanor in Lakeland. Good morning, Eleanor.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr.
Hi.
Harvey.
Good morning.
Yes. My daughter, she just had a partial hysterectomy, and she has such bad night sweats. I want to know if you could recommend anything like she should be taking as far as healthy.
Well, when someone has a hysterectomy, sometimes they take the ovaries, sometimes they don't. Do you know if your daughter's ovaries were taken?
I think one of them, but it was a partial. It wasn't a full.
Okay. So when that happens, then you alter the hormones and things happen, right? So
Right.
you can, for years, I think the book was published in 1989, Dr. John Lee talked about progesterone. And progesterone is available as an over-the-counter topical cream you can get at the pharmacy that actually helps to mitigate hot flashes. Other things like tryptophan or 5-HTP, precursors to serotonin, help to modify hot flashes. Chasteberry extract and other herbal remedies can help to mitigate hot flashes. But I think it's worth it to get a hormone evaluation in the aftermath of having a hormone organ manipulated and partially removed, and see what the hormones actually look like, and really use science to guide replacement.
Oh, okay. Okay, I will let her know. Thank you so much for that recommendation.
You're very welcome. Good luck with that.
Have a good one. All right.
You
bye-bye.
too.
Thank you very much there, Eleanor. And I've got Jerry and then Chris in Clearwater. Good morning, Jerry.
Hello. Thank you
Good
for
morning.
taking my call.
Yes.
I wanted to discuss this creatine. It can help with muscle growth, but it helps with muscle growth by pulling water and liquid and fluid into your muscles. And if anybody's got any kind of cardiac issue, or if they're trying to lose weight, that is something they should not do.
That's an interesting thought. Creatine doesn't necessarily cause muscle growth per se, and it doesn't cause muscle growth by having water go into the muscles. That would be swelling. That's not growth.
That's what it does, though. It brings muscle fluid into the muscles to help them move around, and in other words, to help you develop muscle.
That's an interesting thought, but it's not exactly correct. It works by helping to maintain the energy supply to your muscles during intense workouts, and also when you do regular workouts. Creatine is more about enhancing strength and energy, and by enhancing your endurance, you can build more muscle mass, but it doesn't directly increase all of your muscles. It takes actually work to do the gain.
Yeah, it takes. My point isn't muscle growth. I misspoke. My point was it helps your muscles retain fluid. Which
it helps your body. Your body retains more fluid when you use excessive creatinine. Creatine is something that you can use in small doses, and it's healthy and safe at 5-gram doses. More than that, there's not really any need. Is that
correct?
What's that?
Is that about a teaspoon?
It's 5 grams. And 5 grams is a little bit more than a teaspoon. And it really doesn't make much difference in building any lean muscle mass. It helps with endurance and strength. So what they found is people with Parkinson's disease who do strength training with 5 grams of creatine a day, they actually have more steady improvement. But using more than that does cause swelling. People overutilize creatine, as they do almost everything, because they believe if a little works, a lot more is going to be better.
Okay. My experience, I take Wegovy. I've lost 50 pounds on Wegovy.
Excellent.
And I'm still 15 pounds shy of where I wanted to be. But when I started using creatine, I was using 2 teaspoons a day.
Okay.
And I walk. I have cardiac issues and I have chronic emphysema. I have a pacemaker. I have a myriad of issues. But anyway, I found that after a full experiment of 10 days that I gained basically a pound a day. Now, I didn't eat any more. I didn't eat any less. Perhaps I ate less. But that is what I did.
That's a great anecdote. And so that's a caution
for creatine altogether for a couple of days. But you answered my question. I was using too much.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, very good. Now, that other lady with the swollen ankle, if she's not experiencing pain, she should also have an electrocardiogram done.
Sure she should. She needs a whole workup.
My hypertrophic cardiomyopathy was, even though I felt all right, occasionally my ankle would swell. Just one ankle.
Interesting.
It tends to be the left ankle if it's, right side trouble or, vice versa. It doesn't have to be both.
Yeah, interesting presentation.
It's an indication of heart failure. At least it was with me. I am not a physician. I come from a family of physicians.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you my observations, and so they may help you in some manner. And I thought for sure you could answer my question about the creatine, which you did.
Excellent, Jerry.
I want to lay off creatine altogether for a couple of weeks and get.
I think that's okay.
That I was at. And then when I started back up, do it every other day at a level teaspoon and see what happens. And if I start to gain weight again, I'll stop, because with my lungs, I'm on oxygen 24/7. I also have pulmonary hypertension.
That sounds like a really reasonable approach there, Jerry. I like your approach.
Very good. Well, thank you ever so much for taking my call, and your advice is well taken, and I hope that my experiences will assist your audience in a fashion.
I think it will, because whenever we
this could happen, that could happen, but not necessarily, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I do all of that before I take a damn thing. Because, the war's and everything else, the list is endless.
It can be. Have a great day, Jerry. Thanks for your input.
Thank you there, Jerry. Appreciate it very much. And as I said, I do have Chris on the line, but I want to remind folks that you are listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa. Today's Ask Me Anything Monday, so it is really driven by you and your questions and concerns. So give us a call. That number is 813-239-9663. Maddie is taking the calls, so don't miss this. It is the number to call, 813-239-9663, or continue to send your emails to dj@wmnf.org. Good morning to you, Chris.
Hi, Dr. Harvey. Good
Hi, Chris.
morning. I'm in the middle of moving, and I haven't had time to respond to you on Facebook, but I read your comment on my post where I wrote that the best critiques of the health regulators in Trump's administration right now, like RFK Jr., is from who you rightly pointed out are affluencers that you like Dr. Jane Ruby, with the strange bedfellows of one of her advertisers, pun intended. Though,
Yes.
She has a lot of good criticisms still. And but regarding the mRNA shots, there are two more who are more scientific on their critiques. I encourage you to check out Dr. Peter McCullough, who's on America Out Loud, and he's more scientific. And Vaccine Safety Research Foundation is also very good. And they're
I really do like Peter McCullough. He's very thoughtful, very scientific, and he does really point out some of the things that were actually glossed over and hidden when using the mRNA gene therapy during the COVID pandemic. And the issue I have with that is that we know that the COVID spike protein is responsible for many of the adverse consequences that occur in the COVID autoimmune phenomenon and in the autoimmune vaccine response syndrome. And so I believe, and I have read from Peter McCullough and other people, that using the whole spike protein was the mistake, because the whole spike protein is what induces the inflammation. And we should have used a smaller portion of the spike that is actually where it binds to receptors, which would have been more effective. But it would have taken longer to develop the vaccine. But the interesting thing is, in the nation with the most vaccines administered, we still had the highest death rate. And so there's a correlation that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, that we have these COVID shots that were supposed to prevent illness, but we had the most death on the planet with the most shots in arms. So I think it's toxicity. I think we're missing the big point here. We're still not talking about the right issue. And mRNA, to me, is very safe when used appropriately.
Oh, well, I'm concerned about the frame shifting with mRNA. Let me just mention that VSRF, Vaccine Safety Research Foundation, on rumble.com, hosted by Steve Kirsch. It's constantly showing research that the Pfizer and Moderna shots have an increased survivability. And, of course, about Ed Dowd, that showing all-cause mortality.
And honestly, I don't want to talk any more about the COVID shots, period. There's enough out there, and we don't need to use them anymore, but they're still promoting them. But fortunately, the Trump administration is limiting the amount of people, because the added benefit at this point is so minimal. We should just use ivermectin since it's proven to work, and they lied about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm concerned that the mRNA frame shifting is imprecise, so causes issues. But the real influencers are the likes of Pfizer and Moderna with Operation Warp Speed. Moderna.
Oh, you're a Ruby person. You're that Ruby woman that you'd mentioned in your on Facebook. That's an affluencer. Yeah, and Dr. Oz is an affluencer, and Casey Means is an affluencer. Pfizer is not an affluencer. They're just a big pharmaceutical company.
Excuse me. Yeah, I don't follow them. But with Moderna, if you check out the research from Sasha Latipova and Catherine Watt, they're pointing out that Moderna is a creation of Fauci and the DARPA.
We're talking about stuff that is not appropriate for the show. You keep going away and back onto this history about the shots. I'm not interested. So we're done. Thank you.
Trump.
Okay, I do have Kelly, Shane, and Nina on the line. So let's go to, I guess, Shane here. Good morning, Shane.
Hello?
Hello there, Shane.
Hey, how you doing, sir? My name's Shane, obviously. Just got some questions about the COVID and diabetes and ADL. I was in the Marine Corps
what you got?
I was in the Marine Corps for 30 years, flew for 22 years, passed my flight physicals, and then when I retired, I got COVID. And then after COVID, I started having palpitations, and I'm a personal trainer, and I had palpitations up to 150 beats per minute. And it seemed like anxiety. Went to the VA. They started giving me some crazy drugs, which I didn't like because I'm not a drug person. I don't like those type of things. Ended up doing hyperbaric therapy for 40 treatments, for 7 treatments. I got off the drugs they gave, like Lexapro, which I tell them is bad for me because I did a gene test, and they kept forcing it down my throat. I ended up doing the hyperbaric therapy, 7 treatments, everything went away. And then before I know it, I got type 2 diabetes and high LDL, probably from the Seroquin and all the other stupid things the VA gave me, and it didn't listen to me. And I'm very in tune with my body, and I did the gene test, and 100% Lexapro was the wrong medication for anxiety. Once I got out, did the hyperbaric therapy, all that stuff went away. I'm trying to get my flight physical back to start flying again, but kind of concerned about, get the diabetes off me. Like I said, when I was in the Marine Corps, I ran 6 miles a day, ate food with no science behind it, was addicted to energy drinks due to flying in Afghanistan as a machine gunner and getting, trying to stay awake.
Oh, here's a question. Your energy drinks, were they artificially sweetened or were they naturally sweetened?
I think I probably believe there was science behind it, so it's probably they call it Rip-Its. That's what they gave for us for free in the chow hall.
So was it sweetened with aspartame and sucralose?
I think sucrose is probably what it was sweetened by.
So what we know is that the artificial sweeteners used over long periods of time increase your risk of developing diabetes because they ruin the gut microbiome. And so you may be able to recover that. And diabetes type 2 is exceptionally treatable and reversible. And so I think it's worth it to talk to a functional medicine practitioner to work on a diabetes reversal program.
Yeah. And also, too, the COVID caused some brain fog, which, that's why they put me on those stupid medications. But since then, the hyperbaric therapy helped me get back my memory and my real cortex start communicating with my frontal cortex, causing me to start remembering long-term memory again. So I'm blessed to be able to, advocate for my health.
Yes, that's great. Congratulations on that. Yeah.
But, okay, so I appreciate it. Now, how about the LDL? I don't like Avastatin. It hurts. I don't like it. But I don't want to die of a heart attack.
When you address your dietary issues and your other lifestyle issues, you can often lower your LDL because LDL is raised by type 2 diabetes. So fix the diabetes issue, fix the sugar metabolism issue, and you'll fix your lipid metabolism issue.
Roger. That's my plan.
Go for it. I love it.
Yes, sir. And hopefully the hyperbaric therapy, as you know, helps with inflammation, which I think COVID sometimes causes. The virus causes inflammation in the brain.
It does. COVID is an inflammatory condition.
Okay, so I was right. I'm not a doctor. Yes. I'm just an aircraft mechanic.
No, you did some right things there. Hyperbaric oxygen can help with inflammation and can help improve brain fog. But it'd be great to find out how your body's doing now metabolically. Get a metabolic test to see where you are. And find a good functional medicine doctor, ifm.org. They have a physician search for wherever you are on the planet.
Yeah, so I get my BMR checked and make sure I'm taking the right amount of calories and micronutrients. Yep, I agree, 100%.
So I hope you do well. Take care.
Thank you, sir. You too. Take care, sir.
Yeah, best wishes to you there, Shane. I do have Nina in Sarasota and Kelly and Sarah and Norm. So let's go to Nina. Good morning to you, Nina.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for taking my call. Quick question about iodine. Are we deficient in iodine? And I was thinking getting a blood test just to check what my level was, and if I do, what would be, how do I know I'm in the safe range?
Well, I don't usually use blood tests for iodine levels because they aren't terribly accurate because the iodine gets sucked up into your cells. I'll use a urine test. Doctors Data Incorporated does a urine test to check for that. But in general, if your thyroid numbers are functioning well, you probably have enough iodine on board. But another way to make sure you're getting enough iodine is to use iodized salt. Iodized sea salt is my preference. And also eat seaweed snacks.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I do use iodized sea salt, yes. Okay. So the blood's really not the best way to do it. It's a urine test or a...
Usually a urine test, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, great. Okay. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much there, Nina. And I've got Kelly. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning.
Hi, Kelly.
Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I have a question about medication and a couple of supplements. I was diagnosed with AFib, and I had a heart ablation, and now they say I don't have AFib. But I'm still on Eliquis, and I wondered if that's good advice to keep taking it.
Well, if you don't have AFib, you don't need Eliquis because Eliquis is designed to help keep you from having a stroke when you have AFib. But another question to actually answer is, did they rule out sleep apnea in you?
No.
So there's two causes, major causes for AFib, and it's sleep apnea and alcoholism. Do you use too much alcohol?
I never drink.
Then you need to get evaluated for sleep apnea because sleep apnea is going to kill you even if the AFib doesn't, since it's been ablated.
Okay.
Somebody needs to evaluate you for the principal cause because the AFib might have been caused by sleep apnea, but sleep apnea not treated is going to kill you, just like AFib would have.
And that you go to a sleep specialist for?
Yeah. You can actually get a primary care doctor to order a sleep study on you, but you could also go to a sleep specialist, and that would be the best way to get the full evaluation.
Okay. Well, they say come back in a year and see if you, or they want to implant something to measure your heartbeat to see if.
Well, that's a cardiologist. They're not actually paying attention to you as a person. They're paying attention to you as a label, AFib. So as your ICD-10 code says AFib, then they have a set of criteria to pull triggers on what next to order in your list of testing and remuneration for the practice.
I see.
So the next step would be see me in a year, and then we'll talk about another procedure that you may not need. But how about in the meantime finding out why you got AFib in the first place? They don't care about why you got it. They care about treating it. And so they've done good for you by stopping your AFib, but they stopped there. Why did you get AFib? Nobody asked the question.
The cause of the AFib.
Right.
Yeah. All right. The next question I have is I've been diagnosed with osteoporosis. I'm 68. I've been trying to lift weights, walk, or do yoga. And I don't agree with any of the calcium supplements.
What are you getting enough protein?
Probably borderline. I eat
So
a lot.
protein is the key. You need a protein matrix in your bones to which you attach the calcium. Calcium really doesn't help much unless you've got the protein on board to make the bones springy and resilient. And so you could eat tons of calcium and get barely better bones. But if you actually get good vitamin D and 1 gram of protein per pound of your body weight every day.
1 gram per pound?
Yes. That's going to rebuild your bone. You need to really push the protein for a while. That's not what you need to eat forever. But if you want to recover from osteoporosis, do bodybuilding protein amounts because you need to build the body of bone.
Okay.
And nobody really tells you that. They tell you to take your calcium supplements, but calcium's not going to work if you don't have the protein.
Well, I've been trying to up my dairy a lot. Lots of milk and yogurt.
And there's actually really other good sources of calcium. Like, did you know that collard greens, 1 cup of boiled collard greens has about 30% of your daily calcium needs?
Oh, that's so ironic because my husband loves collard greens.
So have collard greens often because you're getting a huge amount of calcium that's organically bound so your body can use it. Same thing goes for kale. 9% of your daily needs in a cup of cooked kale. 7% of your daily calcium needs in a cup of cooked spinach. Who'd thought spinach, kale, and collards are great sources of calcium?
All right. Good to know.
And then another really good one is canned salmon. It's all wild. They can it on the boat. They cook the bones into the can so that there's calcium, extra calcium in canned salmon. High omega-3, high protein, low toxicity, high calcium. You can't beat canned salmon as a cheap protein food compared to buying fresh salmon. It's like 1/3 the price.
All right. Excellent.
Yes, good luck with that. Hope you get that recovered.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you there. I've got Sarah. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi. I just want to ask about genetic testing. Is there a list of what you would suggest just your general middle-aged person get for genetic testing? I'm considering getting, I think it's called the Procivity test. I think it tests for APOE4 or 3. But I'm just, I've signed up for this All of Us program through the National Institutes of Health. I haven't gotten any of the testing done through them. But just in general, like what kind of genetic test should a middle-aged person be considering? And I don't think insurance pays for any of it, which is why I signed up for the All of Us program.
So insurance doesn't pay for genetic testing because you have to remember, insurance covers your economic loss from illness. That is the contracts that we all have. It's illness, loss, insurance. It's not health insurance. That's a misnomer, and we should stop using stupid languaging to describe what it is, because it's stupid to call illness, loss insurance health insurance, because it has people expecting that the insurance company wants to promote your health. It has no interest in that. And so genetic testing is you being proactive to look at your blueprint to see what you need to do to maintain your body better. That's a proactive investment in health. Healthcare is not covered by Medicare, Medicaid, or any private insurance, period. It's not healthcare. So let's stop being delusional about it. So if you want healthcare, you need to buy it. And so buying a really good genetic test makes sense, but there's lots of companies out there that are going to sell you a $300 ApoE test when you can get $600 worth for an entire genomic testing.
Where?
there are companies out there, and I haven't looked at it recently. I'm looking for a new one because the one that I used, unfortunately, was a really good company, but it was owned by two people who decided they hated each other and they fought over it. And now all that I can do is access the old records online. They don't do any more work, but it was a fabulous company. I just haven't moved over to a new one yet. No, I don't have a recommendation, but you can do some research and start looking and compare prices on complete genome tests. Go on their websites and look to see how they present the information to you. If it's a user-friendly interface that tells you, oh, look, you have these groups of genes under cardiovascular health, and you can do these things to get better. You have these groups of genes under dementia health, and you can do these things to get better. That's the kind of program that I like, and there are some out there. I'm not going to recommend it because I'm evaluating a couple. And so,
okay. Well, when you land on one, can you make sure to cover that on your program in a future episode?
I'll do that. But in the meantime, do some research and see what you can find, because there's lots out there and they're really offering some good value.
Okay, real quick, too, having to do, I think it's adjacent to genetic testing. For somebody mentioned it earlier. I know the University of Florida does some kind of testing to make sure you're on the best medicine for whatever ailment you have.
Yes.
Is that in the same category? Do you like that kind of testing as well?
Well, I think that where I've seen that applied for the most part is in psychiatry. And since psychiatrists haven't proven what their medications do, nor have they proven the biologic nature of any psychiatric illness, using those tests to decide which of those poisons your body is going to react better to doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's deal with mood in a different way.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And we're down to the wire here, so I think I'm just going to read through a couple of emails rather than trying to blast through a phone call.
I think that's a sage advice there.
So this one's from Peter, and he says, I heard this on YouTube. It was an ad. There's a tiny parasite hanging out in every pancreas of every type 2 diabetic. Well, first of all, I hate the ad because it calls a human a diabetic. Don't use labels like that. That's a person with sugar metabolism issues. And this invader supposedly blocks insulin production. And if you have a simple household item recipe, you can stop the parasite. Absolutely love hilarious ads like this. What else are they going to try to sell you? Oh, my. Here's one. I see that, 25th Amendment. That's all I'm going to say. I believe it's an effective tool and it should be used. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I mentioned something earlier on a show about a prostate cancer, and this patient's talking about a Gleason score of 7, maybe early stage. That's actually, Gleason score of 7 is above the watchful waiting number. Gleason score of 6 is where I understand you cut off the watchful waiting, you start doing something more aggressive. And so the things that I consider smart to start with are HIFU, that's high intensity focused ultrasound, which doesn't damage the prostate the same way that surgery or radiation does. And then there's also a cryotherapy, and you can spot treat the tumor with cryotherapy. It's pretty amazing. And so there are some doctors in the area that are doing this all over, actually. It's not just limited to Sarasota, but I know there's a doctor in Sarasota that does it. I know they're doing it in Tampa, in Jacksonville. It's all over Florida and all over the country. And so stepwise approach to this is good because you can do radiation after these other surgeries. You can do any other intervention, but you don't get stuck with just radiation. And so, just to remind everyone, next week is going to be Fund Drive. And if you want to get a head start on it, check out the tip jar today. But next week, there won't be any calling. I'll be just doing my usual talking. And I believe Sean's going to be my partner on that. So we're going to be asking you to help support the show and the station. And I really appreciate anything that comes in beforehand, because that'll make it easier for the show and for the station. Thanks again, everyone, for today's show. Thank you, Bill, for being my producer. And thanks, Maddie, for the phones.
Thank you, Doctor, for another great show. And of course, yes, thank Maddie. She did a wonderful job handling the phones. And I want to thank all of our callers and listeners. You people make this show fantastic. So, to everybody out there, stay healthy. You have been listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa. Waiting for you like a dear friend is 5 minutes of NPR news, and then get ready for the Sustainable Living Show, hosted today by Tanya Vedovic. So until next Monday at 10 a.m., thank you for supporting and listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa, your community conscious radio station. Stay safe, stay thoughtful, and know that you are loved.